Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on the William James College Organizational and Leadership Psychology. So my name is Sarah Johansson, and I work in the marketing department here at William James. So I'll be your host for today's webinar. I'll go through a little bit of an overview of the college and some housekeeping things, and then we can get into today's presentation. So we can move on to the next slide. And today's presenters today, we have Dr. Miranda Ralston, who's the Program Director for Organizational Psychology and Organizational Leadership. And she's also the Director of the Neuroscience and Leadership concentration. And then we will also hear from Elizabeth Beaton today, who is an admissions counselor here at William James. And as I mentioned, my name is Sarah Johansson. So we can move on to the next slide. And a little bit about William James College. So there you can see our campus building, and we're located in Newton, Massachusetts. So in the map there in the corner, you can see that we are easily accessible to Boston, to the greater Boston area. It's easy to get to campus from a number of major highways, so it really makes it easy for our students to get to campus when they need to have access to a lot of the great organizations and different field placement, internship opportunities in the area. But even more than that, a lot of just the great things that happen, different activities, events and things that happen in Boston to get a full experience here. So we can move on to the next slide. And here's an overview of all of the different departments and degrees that we have here at William James. So obviously all of you today are interested in the organizational and leadership department, but just to give you a little bit of a look at all of the great things that we have here at the college. So you can see we have a clinical psychology department, a counseling department, and a school psychology department with a number of graduate degrees across those fields. And then we also offer a bachelor's completion program in psychology and human services. And in fact, this year was the first graduating class from that program, so we're really excited about that as well. So we can move on to the next slide. And I just want to take a minute to go through our core values. These really extend across all of our academic programs and all of the work that we do here at William James College. So the first one, experiential education. Right from day one, all of our students are put into the field, putting into practice everything that they're learning in the classroom. So we really have an emphasis on not just sitting and listening to a lecture, but really getting that hands-on experience and getting a full feel for whatever field you might be pursuing here at William James. So again, that extends across every single one of our programs, all of our students. We really prioritize this experiential education. Secondly, social responsibility. So in addition to our academic programs that really have a focus on providing for our communities and meeting different mental health or leadership or different things in our communities or in the business sector that might need attention. All of the work we do here, from what faculty are working on, we have different centers that work in the communities, a lot of advocacy here that happens to meet those different needs of our communities, both locally in the Boston area, but also extending across the country and across the globe. And lastly, personal growth. We really want our students to graduate William James College, not just with a degree in hand or with a certificate in hand, but we really want them to have a full experience here at the college. So connecting with peers, working with faculty who are not only experts in their field, but practitioners as well. And we have a very active Dean of Students office that offers a lot of different programs, from yoga to discussions and speakers. So you can really get a lot out of your experience here at William James College. We can move on to the next slide. And as I mentioned, I'll just go through a few housekeeping things before we get into our first presenter today. So this is a live webinar, and we really want you to get all the information that you need, that you're looking for today about the organizational and leadership department. So at any time during the webinar, please feel free to submit questions through the question box, and there'll be some time to get those questions answered. So that can be anything you need clarification on or something you have a question about that isn't covered in the presentation. Secondly, you can download the PowerPoint, all these slides that you're seeing today in the handout section. So if you take a minute, you can have that downloaded to your computer. There's some contact information at the end, all the information about the department and the different programs. So I definitely recommend that you take a minute to do that. So we can move on to the next slide. And we have just a quick poll for everyone in the audience today. We'd just like to know which program you're most interested in. This will give us a sense of who's in the audience and how we can gear the presentation towards you to make it a little more specific. Okay, great. Looks pretty evenly split for a few of the programs we have. So I will move on to the next slide. And it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Miranda Ralston.
Hi, everyone. I am Miranda Ralston. Thank you so much for the introduction and the start of the webinar. I am the program director for our Master's in Organizational Psychology, as well as our Master's in Organizational Leadership. I also direct our neuroscience area of emphasis within the Neuroscience of Leadership area of emphasis in the Leadership PsyD program. And I teach in both programs, primarily in the PsyD right now, within that area of emphasis. Next slide. So we wanted to give a little bit of an update about COVID-19 and our response as a department and as a school. So the OLP department has actually been doing online or distance learning since our department's inception in 2008. So the shifts in our department have been even more seamless than what some other departments may have had to experience, because we already know how to do distance ed and online learning. We moved all of our residencies online in the spring semester, summer semester, and this semester as well. We're considering if it's the best choice to move for spring, but we do not plan on inviting anybody in for residencies until it is safe to do so, because we do have students that come all around the world for our residencies. So we are specialists in finding ways to make experiential education pop on Zoom and online. And we are also working on different content to help support leaders and organizations and employees who are on the front lines by sharing our expertise and tips and tricks through some content that we have posted online. Next slide, please. So with recent events, leaders and employees around the world have experienced immense disruption and immediate need to be innovative, flexible, and pivot quickly. Leaders in particular face a really particular challenge of providing stability and guiding their teams with empathy and compassion to stay motivated while maintaining organizational performance. The need for more trained organizational and leadership psychologists with expertise in change management, team dynamics, the organizational health overall has never been more clear. Many businesses have been forced to make shifts into a remote workforce, in some cases overnight in March. A lot of folks were mandated to move online. Those on the front lines in the healthcare industry need advocates for their well-being to reduce burnout. The expertise of organizational and leadership psychologists will be key in driving businesses, leaders, and organizations to not only survive, but thrive as we move forward. In OLP, we are rising to the occasion and helping organizations through all of this while continuing to develop the next generation of organizational development practitioners and leaders to continue this work to be a force for positive change, stability, and health and well-being in the workplace. And we're doing that through our programs in our department. The first program I'll talk about, next slide, is the Leadership Psychology PsyD program. This is a highly interactive and outcome-oriented program where our students attain their 98-credit doctoral degree within just 4 years if they go full-time or 6 years if they choose part-time work. As the world is changing more quickly than ever before, our program focuses on in-depth skill building and problem-based learning experiences so that our graduates are equipped to effectively develop and steward organizational systems, teams, and executive-level individuals within the context of uncertainty and change. The program is built on multidisciplinary concepts that are withdrawn from psychology of human behavior, organizational development, org behavior, business, sociology, education, and something that's really unique to our program is neuroscience. Students engage deeply with learning how to address organizational and leadership challenges through assessment, diagnostic models, interventions, and evaluations. Our program provides a diverse platform for students to understand leadership, followership, organizations as systems, and to deploy the best and most contemporary research and practice approaches to address 21st century challenges. Examining complex issues through the lens of leadership psychology gives our students a really unique understanding of how leaders mobilize resources for change. It examines how to support those leaders, how to be a leader themselves, and who, if you're in a follower position, how followers can create change in large and small systems. And all of that is really needed today. This program is taught both online and with those 3 in-person residencies. Again, during COVID and until it is safe to do so, those 3 in-person residencies have been moved online. Those residencies do happen in the fall, spring, and summer. There's 4 days in the fall, 4 days in the spring, and then over the summer, it depends on which courses you take. You may have a day and a half or 2 days, or if you take 2 courses, you may have 4 days. And those are all delivered on our campus in Newton, and they're all delivered in a cohort model as well. The mission of the Leadership PsyD program is to prepare individuals to function as doctoral level professionals, to function as change agents and leaders for businesses and organizations. This program is for current and aspiring managers, consultants, and other individuals who want to exercise leadership, create lasting and positive change, and create followership. The program is designed to accommodate working professionals who work in a variety of different contexts from all over the world. 90% of our students work full-time while representing 5 different continents. We also have many students who are raising families while they go through the program, so you can have it all. You can work full-time, go to school, and have your family. Your social life does take a hit when you do so, but you can get through your degree. The Leadership PsyD program is geared towards working professionals who are looking to build or enhance careers in org development, leadership training and development, human resources, talent management, change management, management consulting, and being leaders in the community. A couple of really important and unique things about our program is we have a couple of areas of emphasis and 1 concentration. We have the area of emphasis in neuroscience of leadership. We have another area of emphasis in nonprofits and NGOs, and a 3rd concentration in educational leadership. We are also accredited, all of our programs, by NETI, the New England Commission of Higher Ed. Next slide. The next program I'm going to talk about is the Master's in Org Psychology. This is an accelerated, highly interactive program where our students attend the master's program and complete their 30-credit master's degree in just 11 months. So it's highly accelerated. Or if they want to, they can go through part-time and complete it in just under 2 years. We offer 2 options for earning this degree. There's a fully online-only option, and there's a blended option that offers both the online components and weekends in residence, where each course, the students will spend a weekend at William James College with their faculty, focusing on experiential learning exercises, applying the concepts that they're learning in that course. Again, with COVID, we've moved those online. It's gone seamlessly that way. But as soon as it's safe to do so, we will bring all of our residencies back. The program provides a sound theoretical foundation integrated with strong emphasis on practical application. We strive to make everything very practical and make sure that we want to hear, I learned this last night, I applied it at work. So there's a lot of that immediate applicability in the learning. With in-depth skill building and problem-based learning experiences, our graduates are equipped to effectively develop and steward organizational systems, teams, and individuals in the context of uncertainty and change. The MAOP program grounds students in the essentials of adult learning and change and teaches them evidence-based best practices to apply them in today's organizations in highly valuable ways, such as how to accurately diagnose what's going on in a human system, how to intervene constructively, which is really unique to our program. There's a lot of programs that are not teaching intervention, and that's how you create change. fostering self-motivation for positive change, anticipating and meeting the needs of diverse stakeholders within an organization, driving change consistent with an organization's cultures, their values, beliefs, and structures, and managing your own strengths and biases to see organizational and human resource challenges and solutions more clearly. We have a special concentration within this program for talent management that is available for our students who are interested in that. And we also have across our department, we focus on having an experienced practitioner faculty that really combines the academic scholarship chops with years of experience in the field of doing consulting or talent management work, or whether it be internally or externally. And it really creates a profound educational experience. And that's because we not only have the scholarship piece, we have the knowledge and the backing, we also have that experience where we can bring the stories back from our clients, changing the name to protect everybody, so we can share what those experiences are truly like in the real world. We also use a cohort model in this program as well, and that's really nice in terms of creating a peer learning environment that fosters personal and professional growth, as well as really excellent networks as you go out into this work. The program is designed to offer students the best practices in their interest area by combining that academic knowledge and professional experience through the use of field placement. The mission for MAOP and our OLP department is to have a practitioner scholar faculty train the next generation of organizational psychology interventionists, leaders, and talent management professionals who are skilled in working across a diverse array of global clients to make organizations not only more effective, but also healthier places to be. Some interesting and important things to note about all of our programs is we really value advising and pride ourselves in being what we call a high-touch culture. You are not a number here. You actually get to know us, and we get to know you. And if you are missing an action on a discussion board one week, you're going to hear from your faculty just to make sure that you're okay, because we do worry about you. You also are held throughout the program by your advisors. So you meet with them several times throughout the year at different points, but you can also ask to meet with them weekly if it would be helpful to you, or whenever you're struggling with something. So we create that holding environment that provides that extra support for our students to ensure that they're able to finish strong with us, because if you start with us, we want you to finish with us. We also keep our faculty to student ratio pretty low. In some of our courses, it's as low as 8 per section, in others it's 10 or 15. But our sections are relatively small, so you truly do get to know your faculty. You get that one-on-one time with them. If you need to meet with them individually, they will do that, and that goes for all of the programs. All right, next slide. The next program that I'm going to talk about is our Masters in Organizational Leadership, or MAOL. This is a brand new program, and it is a fast-paced, intensive, 11-month, 30-credit program that's designed for working professionals who desire to expand or deepen and sharpen their skills in leading and sustaining changes in organizations. This program teaches students the essential strategic and psychological factors that are at play in contemporary business settings, and provides them with tools to becoming high-performing global leaders. Equipped with a foundation in org psychology and behavior, students are exposed to a wide range of perspectives to better assess and manage a diverse and global workforce. Through blending business and psychology, our students are learning how to lead human systems to thrive in the international and volatile environments. Use of evidence-based practices teaches our students how to influence diverse populations under constant strain and optimizing psychological capital for well-being and business success. The cohort group creates that experiential peer learning environment that fosters personal and professional growth. And the program is offered and designed to ensure that students really get the best practices in their interest area by hitting hard the academic piece while also getting you out into the field through your internship. This highly experiential model of education trains skilled leaders who can guide organizations to work more effectively and productively. This program, similar to MAOP, can be taken in the blended or the online-only option. This one has a 20-hour practicum attached to it, and I'm going to talk more about practicum and field placement in another slide here in a few minutes. But the program is really built on multidisciplinary concepts that draw from psychology of leadership and followership, human behavior, teams and group dynamics, org development, sociology, international leadership, and neuroscience. An experienced practitioner faculty leads and that combines that academic scholarship with the years in the field to create really profound educational experiences. Students engage deeply in learning how to address organizational and leadership challenges through leadership assessment, business strategy, and ethics. With emphasis on the human side of organizations and leadership, the curriculum also includes theoretical and psychological theories of individual, group, and systems level behavior using real-world case studies and applied projects to ensure learning is grounded in evidence-based standards and practice, preparing our students to really go out and lead and address 21st century challenges. This program is really for those who are interested in being an entrepreneur and going into management, leadership, director, executive roles, governmental leadership, leadership development, leadership training and development, change management, and leadership consulting. All right, next slide. The final program I'm going to talk about today is GSEC. GSEC is our Graduate Certificate in Executive Coaching. We offer the only accredited graduate school program in executive coaching in New England. This is a highly acclaimed program that combines the subject matter that is rich in psychology, business, organizational development, coaching theory, principles and practices, and assessment to support leaders in achieving some really powerful outcomes. This program allows students from diverse backgrounds to gain an exceptionally strong foundation in the cutting-edge knowledge of executive coaching. Students study in a challenging and academically rigorous environment, and upon graduation earn an ICF-approved certificate in executive coaching, and they're only left with a number of hours towards their ICF executive coaching cert. The program develops working knowledge and skills in core competencies of professional executive coaching, including the psychology of individuals, relationships, and groups and organizations, how businesses work, coaching principles, practices, skills, and techniques. The executive coaching program is for individuals in serious pursuit of a well-grounded graduate education in executive coaching from a recognized, fully accredited academic institution. The multidisciplinary education includes a theoretical foundation, practical training, and supervised practicum, leading to a certificate in just 8 months. This program is blended, so it does offer those residency components when it is safe to do so. And the students also work super close with the faculty for 1 weekend a month, whether that be online right now due to COVID or at William James in non-COVID times. All right, next slide. Any questions?
Thanks, Miranda, for the presentation. So we have one question here. How does your curricula incorporate diversity, equity, and inclusion training?
We do have that. It actually goes through and is woven through every class in all of our programs. We have been very, very conscious of that. We don't want to one hit and say that it's done, because the work is never done. So it is woven into every course throughout the program.
Okay, we have another question here. What's the average size of the cohort for the master's programs?
For the master's program, our typical cohorts range. In January, they tend to be a little smaller. January cohorts are usually around 9 or so. In the fall, they're usually between 20 and 26. So January is smaller, August is usually a lot larger.
Okay, another question here. Is the full-time org psych program for working professionals?
It is. Your social life will definitely take a hit, but it's made to fit into your life. So you find ways to make it fit. For example, all of the lectures are downloadable. So if you want to listen to them on your commute to work, you can download them, listen to them on your commute. Or if you want to listen to them when you're cooking dinner, you can. You find ways to fit the reading in by putting the articles in your purse and taking them with you and then reading them when you have a few minutes. You just find ways to make it fit into your life, and it kind of just, you find your groove and make it work. So 90% of our students do work full-time, go to school full-time. Some of them have children at home. You find ways to fit it in because of the way that it's all set up. There are different deadlines that you have to hit, like Wednesday night by 9 p.m. You're going to want to have your discussion board post up because that's the deadline. But if you have time Sunday and you want to get it posted Sunday, you can. So we make sure that you always have the weekend to study, because that's when the vast majority of our students get a lot of work done. So we open everything on Fridays, even though the week doesn't start till Monday, just to give you that extra time. So yes, people do work full-time, go to school full-time. Some of them have families. You just make it fit.
Okay, another question here. Could you explain a little bit more the difference between MAOP and MAOL?
So MAOL is actually half MAOP courses. So it does have that org psychology and org behavior and org development basis on it. The difference is that it has classes that are focused specifically on leadership and how to be a good leader, like a class in leadership and followership. So how those dynamics between leaders and followers really look. There's also a class in the neuroscience of leadership within that area. There's leadership ethics. So it's really focused on understanding organizational dynamics and org development, but with a bend towards being a positive leader. The org psychology degree is really focused on how to be a change agent, from being more of like a consultant, internal or external, being in talent management, HR, org development. So those are the focuses. So the org leadership is obviously focused harder on becoming a better leader.
Okay, and we have another question here. How much emphasis or exposure is there with international organizations?
So there's actually an international organizational leadership course within the org leadership program. So there is a full course on that. In the PsyD, there's also international org theory class. In MAOP, we bring it in through case studies, and those are woven throughout the program.
Okay, and then we have, is there a benefit to starting in the spring versus the fall?
There's slightly smaller cohorts, which I always think that's nice, just in terms of being able to get connected really closely with each other. But there isn't a huge benefit over one or the other. It's just when the time frame fits best for you in your life. So yeah, they go through the program the same way either way.
Okay, and we have a question here. If someone completes the GSEC program, does any of that coursework or credits count towards the PsyD program?
Not towards the PsyD. We can transfer 6 credits over from GSEC to MAOP or MAOL.
Okay, so those are all the questions we have submitted so far. There will be another opportunity at the end of the presentation today to get any more questions you have answered. So I think for now we can move on to the next slide.
Great. Okay, so and just to touch back to the PsyD, I don't know if I mentioned it, but you do have to have a master's degree in order to start the PsyD. And many of our students go from our master's programs into our PsyD as well. So that's one other thing. And 30 credits from a master's goes into the PsyD. So it's 68 credits that you take with us for the PsyD. Just wanted to make sure I clarified that. Okay, so we're into our experiential ed and interpersonal learning. So through this, what we're really talking about is our field placement. And WJC-wide, through the whole college, every year we provide 143,000 hours of direct service to communities. And for OLP, the way that we do this is through our field placements and our practicums. So our field placement is where you go into a real organization and you do real OD type work or real leadership work. So you are going in and taking over a project and maybe doing an assessment over why they have turnover in one area of a department. Or you might do an assessment on just employee well-being in a different area. So there's assessments, there's interventions. You might be creating a workshop, or you might be creating mini modules of learning and development for different organizations. But you're working with real organizations in real time while you're learning how to do this. You are shadow consulted, so you meet with us once a week to talk about that project, what you're doing, how it's going, any questions you have, or you're up against this and you're not sure what to do. We shadow consult on all of those projects to make sure that they go really well and that you're comfortable as you go in, because you are applying what you're learning while you're learning it in real time. The way that this works is for MAOP, you have roughly an 80-hour field placement project that you're going to do for that organization. And it could be done at work, could be done at an organization that you have contacts through, or it could be done at a William James Field site. Nobody goes without a project. but you have that 80-hour project that you're focusing on for a specific organization and getting our support in. For the Leadership PsyD, there's 6 semesters of practicum, which is very similar to the field placement. And what that looks like is it's 150 hours per semester for an organization doing a project or a couple of small projects for them, to total roughly 150 hours per semester. By the time you're done with the Leadership PsyD, you have 900 hours of field placement, which is roughly 3 years worth of consulting, which is really great experience. And our students learn so much through their field placements. GSEC also has a field placement, and so does the Masters in Org Leadership. The Masters in Org Leadership field placement is only 20 hours, and they do a leadership assessment for an organization. Okay, next slide. All right, so some of the highlights that I've already talked about, but I really want to touch base on again, is we always use theory to guide practice. But we don't want to teach theory for theory's sake. We teach you theory, what it looks like, how it interacts in different organizations, and then how you interact with that, or how you use it to really create change in an organization or address what's going on there. Our focus is on creating change agents. We want people to go out and do this work and do it well. We want them to go out and make positive change in organizations, because we spend so much of our lives at work. Making the most healthy organizations is really important to us. We use real world problems for you guys to study with. So we bring in our own case studies from our own clients. Sometimes we actually bring in our own clients and have them present a problem to our students, and then through the weekend in residence they work on that and then present it back to a client. There's really interesting ways that we're able to bring those real world problems in for you to work on studying while you're learning it. We pride ourselves in our very diverse cohorts. One of the things about being online distance with the blended options is it opens the doors to this education to a lot more people that wouldn't be able to join. So we have very diverse cohorts. Like I said, we represent 5 different continents, and we have students in non-COVID times who fly in for our residencies a few times a year, and it's fantastic. So you really get to meet some really amazing people this way. There's that immediate application piece. Like I said, we don't teach you theory for theory's sake. It's how to apply it today and what it's going to look like as you do. And we focus on a practitioner faculty. We all consult on the side. We love teaching. We also love consulting, so we do both. Okay, next slide. And the career outlook for organizational psychology is really great, actually. Corporate and industries are quickly embracing organizational psychology as being instrumental to improving their performance and their efficiency. I always use the example of a study that Google did while I was doing right after I did my doc project, that showed psychological safety was like the main thing that brought high performing teams up. And I'm like, I could have told you that for a whole lot less than that study with my own study. But it's always interesting because they are starting to see the importance of organizational psychology, of understanding efficiency, and how this is bringing up a whole lot more performance in their organizations, saving them and making them more money. So there's actually expected to be a 53% increase in career opportunities forecasted in org psych, leadership psych through 2022, which is only a couple years away. At this rate, there is not enough trained professionals in the field to take on all of these roles. The average starting salary for an organizational psychologist is right around 90 grand, which isn't too bad. Next slide. All right, so our learning management system. Now that you know all about our programs, I'm going to switch gears and address the distance learning component of our programs. And we're going to start with talking about our learning management system, Canvas. Every course you take with us is going to be housed in Canvas, and each one of them has their own course page. Canvas is available to you 24/7, and in fact, you'll have a chance to experience Canvas even before you start your courses or officially start courses, because that's where our online orientation course lives as well. So you will have an online orientation as well as a live orientation. The way that this is really important in terms of having that online orientation course, because it helps you feel really comfortable with the site before the courses even start. Once you're enrolled, your readings, your lectures, your assignments, everything is available to you in Canvas each week. And you can log in and participate in the course requirements on your own schedule. This goes back to what I was talking about how you make it fit into your life. Whenever you have a few minutes, you can literally access Canvas on your cell phone if you want to look at the discussion board there. You can respond on your cell phone. You can watch your lectures from wherever you are. It's really, really convenient that way. So for example, if you work full-time, which many of our students do, you may log on at 8 p.m. to work on your assignments. Or if you're a morning person, you might get up really early and do it at 5 a.m. over a cup of coffee. Really, it's all about what works best for you and your schedule. In addition to required readings and assignments each week, you're also going to be asked to participate in online discussion boards. Here is where you really get to connect personally with your instructor and your fellow classmates on the class topic for that week. The discussion board tool is truly accommodating in that it allows you to really take your time to formulate your thoughts before sharing them with the class. This is especially true for our students who are not always comfortable speaking up in a live class setting. This discussion method creates an equal playing field for students where everybody can contribute, and it creates a sense of community among our classes. Students have told us actually that they found a whole lot of value in the online discussion boards, and personally, back when I was in school and the discussion boards, it was really helpful because I am actually a introvert, so sometimes it takes me a little longer to formulate what I want to say on the discussion boards, and that allowed me to have that extra time and really contribute my thoughts that were unique rather than holding back. In many courses, your instructor may add something called a water cooler discussion board. This is a place for you and your classmates to converse on non-class related topics, and it's an opportunity to really get to know each other, especially if you're taking fully online courses and may not meet in person. Students use the water cooler to talk about current events, share study habits, share stories about their lives, jobs, etc. All right, next slide. So our distance learning programs attract a very well-rounded and diverse group of students, and we feel really proud of that. And our model helps those who may not have had the time to commute to an on-campus program, and the opportunity is there for them to really further their education. However, it's important to note that with the great learning flexibility that is offered through online learning, there is also additional responsibility that is placed on the learner. To be a successful distance learner, students should be aware of unique learning styles and techniques that are essential in an online course. These include, 1, being self-motivated. Since most of the assignments, you can log in and complete them from anytime, anywhere within the weekly deadline, it's important that you are self-motivated and that you can stick to a study schedule that works for you. By not being required to come to class at a designated time or day, it can be really challenging to find that study time if you don't plan for it. So you have to be self-motivated in order to plan for those things, organize your life that way so that you are successful. 2, being an independent learner. You may find that there is less structured group work in an online environment. There may also be opportunities to study with classmates in a way that you may not be that opportunity to study face-to-face with classmates the way that you would do in an in-person program, but you can use Zoom to do that. A lot of our students do that. They have different threads that they have going either on social media or a text chain. They find ways to connect. So it's really important that you are comfortable being an independent learner, but also motivated in terms of finding those connections when you need and where you need, and asking for help when you need it, because the faculty is super kind and compassionate. That's something that we really strive to be and act on. And when you need help, you just have to let us know. We just ask that you let us know. And 3, proactive. So 2 a.m. may be your ideal study time, but it may not be the case for your professor. So it's important to stay ahead of the game and make sure that you ask questions and seek clarification when you need it ahead of time. I will say that sometimes we may be online late too, but that's not always the case. 4 is organized. Many online learners have other obligations, which is what led them to pursue the online degree anyway. So it's important to stay organized so that you can successfully juggle all the calendars and responsibilities that you have. You also need to be flexible. So while we love technology, sometimes it doesn't work the way we want it to. Not often, but it does happen. So our online learners need to be flexible and adaptable when things might not be going according to a plan, or if something appears to be missing. Sometimes it's just a quick click that needs to be made in Canvas, and something will show up that we thought was showing up. So being flexible and kind and adaptable with us and communicating often is really helpful. And you need to be comfortable with technology. So we expect our online learners to be comfortable with technology. You don't need to be an expert, but it is imperative that you come to the program with a working knowledge of how to use your computer, the internet, and be open to learning more. That's not to say we aren't here to help. In addition to the online orientation course that will precede the semester, WJC also has a highly skilled IT support staff and ed tech that is ready to address any concerns or problems that you may have with the distance components of your program. So next slide.
Thank you, Dr. Ralston, for that wonderful presentation. Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm an admissions counselor here at William James College. And I'm going to, number one, speak about admissions, and then I will talk briefly about financial aid. So for these programs that we discussed today, Leadership PsyD, MAOP, MAOL, and GSEC, we admit students at 2 points in the calendar year, in January for the spring semester and in August for the fall semester. Right now, we are accepting applications for spring 2021, and you can start an application online at williamjames.edu/apply. For an application, we require that you fill out the online application, answer all the questions, and then there are different materials that we require. So we ask that you provide us with your CV or resume, a 4 to 6 page application essay. And the essay is really it's a creative space for you to present your strongest case as to why you would be a great addition to the program and to our community. And there are prompts posted to the online application to help guide your writing. We also require letters of recommendation for leadership PsyD, the Masters in Organizational Psychology and Organizational Leadership. We require 3 letters of recommendation, and the Graduate Certificate in Executive Coaching, GSEC, requires 1 letter of recommendation. And letters of recommendation should come from people who know you professionally or academically if you were recently in a different, maybe undergraduate or graduate program. And these people should know you well and be able to say wonderful things about you. We also require, if you are changing careers, and you're pivoting and changing, and we require that you fill out an additional statement. So that would be the change of career statement. And also the reapplication statement if you have applied to us in the past. And then we also ask that you reach out to the registrar's offices at all colleges or universities that you've attended in the past and have them send us your official academic transcripts. So with all of these materials, we would assess your academic readiness for a graduate program, and then we would have an interview with you. So it would be a conversation between you and a faculty member in that specific program, and that's to assess your interpersonal skills and to make sure that you're a great fit. And those interviews take place usually virtually via Zoom. And one more point on applying for the spring 2021 semester. We have a deadline coming up on December 3rd. So you have a couple months to prepare your applications, and I'm here with the rest of the Office of Admissions, and we're happy to speak about certain materials or the timeline and help get you the information that you need in order to make the right decision and make sure that this program will help you achieve your goals. In terms of financial aid, all applications for admission are automatically considered for a merit-based scholarship, and that's a decision that happens during the interview process, and then a potential offer of admission would include in the letter a scholarship award amount. There are other scholarships that you can apply for that require a separate application, and you can find that on our website under the financial aid and scholarship section. So it's important to read through those requirements. For example, we have a scholarship called Serving the Mental Health Needs of the Underserved that covers 2/3 of the tuition cost, and that's a scholarship that is available for applicants to the Leadership Psychology PsyD program. Most of our students are covering the cost of tuition with financing through the Federal Student Loan Program, so it's important that you file your FAFSA at about the same time that you're submitting your application for admission. And again, I'm happy to talk more about the scholarship process or your application and your specific circumstances. We can set up a time to speak by phone and have a 30-minute consultation. I'm also happy to answer questions by email or get you in touch with the person who would best be able to answer your questions. And so contact information will be at the end of this presentation. In terms of contact information for loans and questions about the FAFSA, you can contact Hillary Baxter, who is the director of the financial aid office here at William James.
Okay, great. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Dr. Ralston, for both of your presentations today. So as I mentioned, there would be a final Q&A session at the end of the presentation today. And it looks like we already have some questions submitted, but anyone feel free to continue submitting questions as you have them. So first question here we have, for the PsyD program, is there a dissertation, a final project, some sort of process for that?
There is. It's called a doctoral project here. It's similar to a dissertation. But the way that it works is much kinder in terms of you pick your topic as long as it's within organizational and leadership psychology domains. You get to pick what you want to study and how you want to study it. If you want to do a qual study, if you want to do an experiment, if you want to do a theoretical paper, you do have a doctoral project. It's based on your interests rather than the faculties. You do not do our research. You do your own research that is interesting to you, and we support it. And we give you feedback and help you along the way. You work very closely with your committee, who is 2 faculty members of your choice, as long as they're not full up. They will take on your project. I'm full up for the next 2 years, so that's, if there's somebody you want to work with, I always tell everybody to ask early in their process. But yes, there's a doctoral project. It is an awesome experience. It's super supportive. It's a lot of work, but it is a wonderful thing to complete as you're getting done.
Okay, we have another question. How does the GSEC and PsyD programs work for out-of-state students for practicums and or residency?
So the way that those work is when it's non-COVID times again, students often fly in for those. So they'll fly in for the 4 days for the Leadership PsyD residency, the weekends in residence in MAOP. GSEC, it's a weekend every month. So they fly in for those. We have students that fly in from Germany. We have students in Liberia and South Africa. We have students from all over that fly in. And they stay at a hotel and attend residency those 4 days.
Okay, another question here. How is leadership psychology different from IO Psych and organizational development? Are the professors in the doctorate program active researchers in the field or practitioner focused?
I'm going to have you say the second part of that again, but the difference really is we are an org development program. We have the focus on leadership. An I program, it has a heavier focus on statistics. You do get a lot of statistics in our program. You have 2 classes on it, but it is a heavier focus on less of a humanistic focus in IO. We have a strong humanistic focus in focusing on the individual dynamics, how each person in an organization impacts the outcomes. So we look at it a little differently in terms of the well-being of each individual employee and things like that. Can you repeat the second part of that?
Yes, absolutely. Are the professors in the doctorate program active researchers in the field or practitioner focused?
The vast majority of us are all practitioner focused, but I do research in the lab, and several of the other faculty do different research as well. And we're constantly doing research with our students. So we have the research chops. We know how to do that well, but we are mainly focused on the practical application in our consulting work.
Okay, another question here. What do doctoral graduates do after graduation? Do you have some examples of career
Yeah.
placement?
So some of them have gone into academia and consulting at the same time, similar to what I'm doing. There's some that are doing, actually one of my colleagues that I'm had just talked to, he graduated from the program in later PsyD, and he is doing the training and development for a global nonprofit where he travels around the world and does their training and development for each of their groups around the world. There's another colleague that is in the UK. She's doing consulting independently. Some folks are doing leadership of small, or not small, but just nonprofits. And there's others that are leaders in mental health. There's leaders in hospital systems. I'm trying to think of all of our grads as I go down the list. Another one is in the process of creating a wraparound service for veterans and those that are exiting the military to make that transition smoother. So there's a lot of different ways that they go with this.
Okay, great. Another question here is asking about COVID-19 and how, if you have any information on how that has affected the field and or careers, job market, etc.
We've gotten a lot of requests for how to engage remote employees. So I've done a lot of consulting around that recently. The DEI is huge right now as well. So our work has actually increased during COVID and all of the things that are going on right now. There's a lot of pain points, and that is what we are typically called in for, is when an organization is in pain, or when the people that are in an organization are in pain. We're called in to help them address that so that everybody can work together smoothly.
Okay, another question here is about the areas of emphasis, and if there's a requirement to select one. This person is asking about the PsyD program.
No, you don't have to take an area of emphasis or a concentration. There's 8 elective credits. So if you do not want to take a concentration or an area of emphasis, you just take different elective courses to fill those credits.
Okay, could you list what the options are for areas of emphasis?
Yeah, there's the area of emphasis in the neuroscience of leadership, leadership of nonprofits and NGOs, and then a concentration in educational leadership.
Okay, great. So that's all the questions that we've had submitted so far. So I'll move on to the next slide, but if anyone has any last minute things that you want to submit to the question box, definitely still feel free since we have a few minutes left. So as you mentioned a few times throughout the webinar today, here's the information, the contact information. So again, I'll say that you can download the slides from today and get this slide in the handout section to refer back to, or you can find all of these email addresses on our website. So that's williamjames.edu. So I definitely recommend that everyone take some time to visit our website. There's all the information that we talked about today about the different programs, the department, a lot of information about everything that's happening at the college. So we have, you know, events that are being held, some different work that students are doing, some faculty features, just a lot of great stuff on our website. So I definitely suggest everyone take a look at that. We can move on to the next slide. And I'll add that we have social media presences on all of these platforms. So this is another great way to connect with us, see everything that's happening at the college, and really get a feel for what it's like to be part of our William James community. Miranda, we got another question here. Is specific work experience required for the doctoral program? So
there's not a specific background that we look for, but we like you to have some work experience to come in with so that you have a lot to compare it to as you're learning and bringing it into your learning. So there's not one specific background we're looking for. We have students that come in with all different backgrounds.
Okay, great. So as everyone who's spoken today on the webinar has mentioned, everyone at the college, the admissions team, the faculty in the OLP department, everyone is just always happy to help if you have any questions after today's webinar. If you want some more specific conversations about your particular experiences, or your have some questions about financial aid, as Elizabeth mentioned. So definitely reach out to anyone here at the college, and we'll be happy to help you with that. So thank you again to our great presenters today, and I hope that everyone has a great rest of your day.